Hello, welcome to another edition of Life in Books. I'm Brinda Berry,
And I'm Abbie Rhodes.
and we've been both reading the same book. We're going to talk about the book You and Hidden Bodies by Caroline Kepnes. Actually, we've both been listening to the audio version of this book, which is something that I usually do, and was excited to find out that Abbie does the same thing. So, Abbie, talk to me a little bit about what you think about the sequel to this book and about the character of Joe. What do you think about him?
Well, when I started reading this, I thought there's no way that she can write something as good as you was. There's just no way. And then, probably you know, 5 minutes into listening, I was like, yeah, this is like even better. So I just really, really love Joe. And Joe is just, uh, he's an anti-hero, and he does these bad things, but you kind of understand why he does them. So then I just love him so much. And when I was reading You, I just kept thinking, oh, he just needs Beck to love him. If Beck will only love him, then it will all be okay, and Joe will be okay, and it'll have a happy ending, and it'll all be good. And then I don't want to tell you what happened with Beck, but
What's funny is this doesn't surprise me at all because you write such dark romance that I knew from the minute, you were the one who actually recommended you. And so I read it after you did, and I understood completely why you loved this book, and I loved it too. But this is the type of thing that you write where you've got some really dark things going on, but it is so entertaining and sucks you in immediately.
yeah. And Joe, it's just his character, and I she's just brilliant in developing him. You're so talk about a deep point of view. You are so deep in Joe's head that you understand every horrible, rotten, terrible thing he does, and you're kind of like okay with it, or at least I was kind of okay with it. And I know it sounds awful, but you just so understand where he's coming from, and his it's like he's got this set of morals, like this total set of, like, this code of morals, and then there's this other, like, non-code of morals, and it's just weird. He's just a really neat character. What is it about Joe that you really like?
I can totally understand where Joe's coming from because the way that he thinks about things, his justification, sometimes I've thought those very things, but I don't actually murder anyone.
And I think that's why Joe is like our, I don't know, like our basest self or something. Like he's he's the guy who, like, how you said somebody makes you mad, and like they did something absolutely horrible to you, and you have that moment where you think, oh gosh, just, and like he just acts on it. And I just, it's like he reflects our basest desires in some way. I don't know, he's one of my favorites. And Hidden Bodies is even better than You was, and I'm not even done with it, and I can't wait for a third book to be written because this is just spectacular. And what do you think about the guy who's reading the book?
He is one of my favorite narrators to date. I think that he brings him to life, and I don't know if I would have had the same experience reading it in print. Do you ever wonder
I
that?
have, and I've actually been afraid to pick the book up in print because I was worried that I wouldn't like it as much as I do in audio. Because I find that I'm more forgiving listening to a book than I am reading a book. Do you notice that about you?
I do. And sometimes, as a writer now, do you pick apart people's sentences and writing sometimes? Um, I don't think that that would happen if I picked up this book by Caroline Kepnes, but I'm saying that sometimes I overanalyze and I have to uh, pull back from that and just enjoy the story. But when you have that audio book and Joe is being acted out for you and you hear all the emotions, it's a much different experience and you can be engaged in it a lot quicker.
Yeah, I completely agree. Totally. And The the actor who does him, I just can't even imagine any other voice. He's just so absolutely perfect. But you know, you brought up a point about reading. Like I have a hard time when I'm reading like a reading a book. I have a hard time not critiquing it. And I think it's just because I do so much critiquing and I'm analyzing my own writing so much that I have a hard time enjoying reading anymore. Kind of being a writer almost destroyed reading a little bit. So it's really difficult for me to, oh, hey, Dobby, he just popped up here. It's really difficult for me to like lose myself in a written book anymore. And I find that, like I said, I'm much more forgiving listening to a book because I don't edit that way by listening. I edit by, you know, my eyes and stuff. And I think there's some difference with that. So, has writing kind of done that? That's kind of changed how you do your reading too, right?
Right. And to be fair, there are some books I've listened to that I'll actually do that critiquing as well. I'll think, gosh, that word has been used a million times in the first
Oh
chapter,
yeah.
you know, word echo, which is one of my problems. So that's probably why I noticed it was someone else's work.